This is Leave Your Mark. I'm Vince Cortese, and today's guest is Philip Jones. Philip is a kidney transplant recipient who has battled chronic kidney disease for over 2 decades. At the age of 4, Philip had strep throat, which attacked his kidneys and caused them to fail to 30% usage. At the age of 17, Philip received a life-saving kidney transplant, and 3 years after that, the kidney rejected and caused him to face a number of other health issues and go on dialysis. After facing another of other health challenges and still on dialysis, Phillips decides to go back to school, get his degree on March 1st, 2021, and starts a second chance show that highlights the story of courageous individuals and their story of fight. Philip, thank you for being my guest here today.
Thank you, Vince, for having me. I appreciate it.
Hi there, and welcome. Now it's time for America's favorite podcast, Leave Your Mark, with your host, Vince Cortese.
If it's fly, loose fitted, it's Cortese. If freezing, chubbers in it, it's Cortese.
Leave Your Mark is about inspiring the world, one guest at a time.
Pass the word from Brooklyn to Pittsburgh, from urban to suburb, it's Cortese, you heard?
And here is our host, Vince Cortese.
Well, you have gone through so much. It is just hard to imagine your level of strength and patience to get on with life after all of what you've gone through. So what I want to do is a little background on you and where you're born and raised and what life was like when you're younger. So I have you born in Los Angeles, raised in Los Angeles. Mom, Sherry, dad, Philip, and mom was a train conductor at the Metro, and dad was a groundskeeper. You had 3 siblings, so there was 4 children, and you were the oldest, so I'm sure that played in there. And then at the age of 4, when you were having this issue, share with me, and we'll kind of get into this right now. You obviously had a very unique childhood because your illness was before you arrived in school. So share with me a little bit about what life was like as a youngster or a child and having this health situation and getting into the regular life of going to school.
Well, actually, it started in kind of in the middle of me going to school because I started school early. I went to early start, which is usually about 3 years old to 4 years old, where you can start earlier. And so, but life as a child was what I like to call it as normal as can be for somebody in my predicament. I kept my illnesses to myself from people that I went to school with, and even some of the neighborhood kids didn't even know what I was going through. I mean, I had some family that lived on the street where I lived, and some closer friends that kind of knew my issue, but for the most part, I kept it to myself. Like I said before, we talked at a younger age. I understood that kids make fun of things that they don't understand. And what I knew was going to happen was they weren't going to understand, what kidney failure is and what dialysis could mean, and, the things that I could be facing later on down the line in the future. And the first thing that will come to their mind is a joke. And I understand it's just a react mechanism for kids. They don't understand it. They want to make fun of it. That's their way of understanding what's going on. But to get back kind of on the topic, like I said, life for me was as normal as possible. I'm not gonna lie to you, even with the kidney problems, my doctor used to get on me about this consistently. When I was younger, was my eating habits and how I ate. And I'm like, man, I'm trying to live like a kid. So I'm going to, the liquor store down the corner to get candy, and I'm going to get soda and do this. But I have to give my parents props because they still tried to keep me in line with those dietary restrictions, keeping water, in my life and things of that nature. And being stern when they say, hey, no more sodas, water time, or whatever the case may be. So, but like I said, life as a kid was pretty regular. It was like any other regular kid that doesn't deal with any life threatening issues or anything like that.
Let me ask you this. How do you share with me what would go through your mind? I mean, when you're that young, the level of naivety is premium. So were you aware that you were potentially in a life-threatening situation? And how did that affect you?
I was aware every day of my life because my doctor made sure I knew.
Were you in pain?
No, no pain whatsoever.
And that would make it even more hard to understand it as a child.
Well, when you have pediatric nephrologists like I had, Dr. Carr and Dr. Peterson, and these two doctors were actually best friends and worked at the same hospital. They made sure that I understood what I was dealing with, what I was faced with, and what I will be facing later on down the line. So literally I had a doctor's appointment every month. Every month I'd go see him. They make sure they remind me, hey, Philip, this is not, forever. You're going to need dialysis at some point. You deal with kidney issues, blah, blah, blah. And they give me the rundown every appointment like clockwork. And at first I didn't understand. It used to get irritating to me because I'm like, I'm tired of having the same conversation every time I come to see you. I got to hear the same thing. But then I understood it once it came to the time for me to make that transition to dialysis.
Now, how old were you when that happened?
16.
Okay, so then that takes us into your high school.
Yes.
So, I mean, now you're at Gardena High School. You participated in track and football. You're in the student body union, and you're going to go to college after this. You're going to go to Los Angeles South Hills College and the same, pick up studies in liberal teaching, and then the theater arts and participate in track and football again. So share with me after graduation and going through that process where most of those people were close to you or relatives of you in that high school, but you're going to another level, a larger community of students and another transition, and your health is moving in the wrong direction again.
Well, when I started college, I had already had my transplant. So I was actually in a better state of health.
Connect with us on LinkedIn. Be our friend on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram.
Whether jumping out the MP or jumping on the app.
You are listening to Vince Cortese. We just want you to leave your mark.
How long had you had your transplant for at that point?
I bet maybe just under a year and a half. Because I started 2000, had my transplant February 2007. So just under a year, just right out a year and a half.
Now, how did your body respond to that? Because a transplant's always an interesting window of will it take or won't it take? And then as you went down the road, it rejects it. So how was it when you initially got it? Did it seem like everything was going to be okay?
Everything went fine. Recovery went fine. I was out the house, running around with kids around in the neighborhood, within a close proximity, maybe about 2 weeks after transplant, and so recovery after that went fine. The kidney did not reject on its own. So what happened with that is in 2008, I took a trip to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, for what at that time was called the U.S. Transplant Games, which is held every 2 years somewhere in the United States. And so while I was there, I tore my right meniscus. Now at this time, I didn't know that's what it was. I just, my knee was killing me. It was just unbearable pain, and I knew I had to get on a 4-hour flight on the Southwest airplane, which is not the most roomiest, and get on a 4-hour flight back to LA. And I knew I wasn't gonna be able to take that, that closeness of sitting with my knee the way it was. So I'm walking all over the airport trying to find Tylenol. Nobody has Tylenol. And I didn't go that far because this was like literally my second time in the airport for myself, I should say. The first time was going to Pittsburgh, so remember this coming back. And so I don't know how the change of flight things happen and, cancellations and all that stuff. So I'm trying to stay close to the people that I know. So I don't go too far to find Tylenol, but everywhere I went, they didn't have any. So I asked people I was around. I was around some Team SoCal people who are also at the games with me, and they're also transplant patients as well and supporters. And asked them, hey, does anybody have any Tylenol? And of course, most of these people are heart and liver recipients. There's like not one kidney recipient around me. And even at this time, I just kind of went off feeling because I rather take Tylenol than Motrin. That was just how I've always been in general. And so they're all like, no, we have Motrin. So I'm like, all right, whatever. Well, give it to me so I can get this pain done with and get on this plane. At the time, I did not know that kidney patients aren't supposed to take Motrin. They're only supposed to take Tylenol. And liver patients aren't supposed to take Tylenol. They're only supposed to take Motrin. So because I took the Motrin, that is what started the rejection for my kidney. Now, granted, it didn't happen till later on down the line, about 2 years later, but that was what overall did it. That was what they told me personally after doing, the tests and things like that on the kidney after removing it.
Okay, so then you got the kidney transplant before college, and it lasts 3 years now. How's college going while this is beginning to fail, and it looks like you're going to go on dialysis, and this level of health is going to another direction? So, what happens when the kidney fails, and what do you do after that?
Well, the kidney failed August of 2010. I actually just took a break from school earlier in the year, beginning of the year. I started working at Disneyland like in May of that same year. And then, like I said, went into rejection August. I was still working at Disneyland at the time. And they were like, immediately, Philip, you got to go back on dialysis. So they put me on in-center hemodialysis. And after that discharge, I ended up back in the hospital maybe about 2 weeks later because I suffered a major seizure. And, my mom had to call the paramedics for me and everything, and was in there for about 2 weeks. And then about another 2 or 3 weeks after that, in October of 2010, I had a subdural hematoma, which is a bleed in the brain that I needed emergency brain surgery for.
Holy smokes. So the part that I want to address here is that you're maintaining a life the whole time here. You graduating high school, going to college, getting a job, all the while your body is failing you, and you're on an elevated level of declining health from when this began to happen to you. So what I find remarkable is it's just kind of like another day in the life of Philip Jones. You're marching right through this like a warrior.
If you are listening from Australia, Florida, or just from around the corner,
From East Coast to West Coast outlets, if you're not into the dirty South straight, make a left about it.
contact us. Leave your mark with your host, Vince Cortese.
You're moving forward here, so you're going to go back to school again here soon after this, and working a couple different jobs. So take me around 2019 when you decided to go off work from Universal Studios, and what happens there.
I left Universal Studios and I believe April of 2019, and went back to school, and got back into theater and trying to finish off the rest of these classes from the first degree, that I, in my eyes, should have had years ago, but can't control the things that you can't control. So, like I said, I went back to theater, and worked on that first degree, that liberal arts teacher prep degree, and we worked really hard on a piece that we wrote called Criminal, that was selected for the Kennedy Center Theater Arts Festival, and we were picked as a invited production where we performed that piece in 3 times in one night.
Oh my.
And won 3 national awards for that performance. And the reason why I bring up theater in these interviews is because that team and that department holds a special place in my heart, because it's been my getaway, my get out of my transplant zone. Is where I go to just kind of, if I need to just talk to somebody. I can always talk to my director, my peers, the technician, Dave, he's great. And, so that's why I bring up our theater program, because it's not just a program, it's a family. And we've been through a lot over these past few years, and I'll spare the details on that. But so yeah, like I said, went back, got that degree, and then re-enrolled at the same school, Los Angeles Southwest College. And then that's when I decided to get my theater degree as well, because I said, I figured that adding a theater component to teaching is a great way to keep your kids engaged. And if anybody knows anything about teaching, that's the number one rule, is to be able to keep your kids engaged in what you're talking about or what's going on in the class. You don't want them dazing off or daydreaming and doodling and things of that nature. You want them paying attention to what you're talking about at the front of the classroom. So that was really kind of where I went. Then as I got deeper into it, I started to take it a little bit more serious. And it wasn't saying I wasn't taking it serious at all in the beginning. It's just that I had a different mindset when I originally went into it. Now that's kind of where I'm heading is theater. So after I get this theater degree, I'll be applying to Cal Arts, which is in Valencia, which a number of great artists and theater actors and actresses and producers and directors have gone through that program. Our director actually went to Cal Arts as well. So, but I also will have teaching as a backup. So, Cal State LA is my next choice, and Cal State Dominguez is my last choice. So, but it's been a crazy and awesome ride, to say the least.
Well, what I want to ask you, and I think is so inspiring, is that you're just moving forward with life. This is a part of your life or half of your life on one respect and more than half on another. The idea that the entertainment and the theater relays you such a relief is a wonderful thing to know and hear, that you're following that urge to do that, and that fulfills you. So what I want to do here is can you give me where your bill of health is now? And you kind of just said where you're planning on going with your education and your time and your life. So what is your health status like now? And do you have any expectation of what you want to have happen next?
The first thing that's on the list, health-wise, take care of. What I just found out is that I have 2 leaking valves, 2 leaking aorta valves that I'm dealing with, as well as an ascending aneurysm in my heart. So I'm in the process of getting that scheduled. I have some appointments to take care of before we can set that date to have all that taken care of. I had a consultation with the surgeon last Monday. He said the procedure will be 6 to 8 hours. And so that's kind of first that's on the plate
So are
right
you
now,
going to get a
because
stent, or what are they planning on doing to your heart?
no, it'll be open heart surgery. They'll fix both valves and the aneurysm. They'll repair both situations at one time.
No, I mean, this is just, it's like as soon as you begin to get better, there's another trouble on the front. So it's like, how are you able to mentally cope with this happening over and over and over again and maintaining the peace that you have?
Because I'm always looking forward. I never really dwell on the past. I remember it because it's, it's part of my life. It's part of who I am. It's part of the reason why I'm here on this show right now with you. And so I keep those things in the back of my head, but I don't let it get to the front of my life to where it takes over my life. I am in control of my life at the end of the day. So, and the one thing that I tell people that are in situations like I am is find something that you love to do. Find something that can keep you occupied consistently 24/7. So that way you don't have the time to sit and dwell and think about your issues and things of that nature. If you're constantly moving and working, you have no time to think about it. And that was, outside of the fact that I just wanted to help people, was another part of the reason why I started a second chance, was because it gave me other avenues to go down other than the depression avenue and anxiety and insomnia and things of that nature like that. So, find something that you are very passionate about doing, whether it's sewing, even if it's just watching TV. Go find you 18 billion movies you can watch and just watch them all every day if you have to. If that's you, become a movie critic if you want to. But
Yeah.
find something that you love to do and be dedicated to it, because the dedication is what will put you in a position to not be able to have to think about your past or what's even in front of you. I for maybe the first 2 or 3 days, I thought about the news that I got from the doctor about my heart, and that was it. After then, it was like, all right, well, it's just the next step forward. My ultimate goal is to get on a transplant list and get this kidney. I had an evaluation date set for July 28th, but that was canceled because of the heart situation. They said they wanted me to get cleared by a cardiologist after the procedure before they can give me an eval and put me on the list. So, like I said, this is the first step for me. My next step after that is the cardiologist approval, and next step is evaluation and transplant list.
Just
So
remarkable.
that's why I'm continuously fighting.
If you have a story to share, tell us. How are you going to leave your mark? Contact us. Leave your mark with our host, Vince Cortese. Be our guest.
You're 32 years old. Am I correct on that?
Yes, sir.
And you're full throttle into life. I admire you so much. Everybody that comes on here, and you probably answered this a little bit already, how would you like to be remembered? How would you like to leave your mark in this world?
First and foremost, I'd like to leave my mark as somebody who cares about other individuals more than themselves. Number two is to bring the awareness to organ and tissue donation, because there are hundreds of thousands of people on this transplant list, waiting, and just in the kidney world in general, and it's a lot of people on this transplant list, and there are 2 different ways that you can help these people One which is being a direct or indirect donor, which is you being a match to someone and donating specifically to that person that you want to donate to, or you can go through what's called a pair system where you may not be a match for the person that you want to give one to, but somebody else may be in the same predicament, but you may have a match with that person that they want to give one to, and vice versa. So, and then as well as being a deceased donor, which is just basically checking a box on your driver's license. You know, I mean, it's like at the end of the day, what can you do with these organs when you leave here? There's nothing that you can do. It ain't like you can box it up and take it with you when you leave. You know, put them in a bag. It's not like you can vacuum seal them and you know, put them in storage somewhere or anything like that. So why not just give it to somebody to live a little bit longer, you know, life? I mean, I'm be honest with you. When I was younger, after hearing everything I've had to hear from my pediatric nephrologist, I honestly thought if I didn't get this transplant by the time I hit 18, I probably wasn't going to be here anymore. And I got it at 17. I only had it for 3 years, but those 3 years are what's contributed to these last 12 years of me being on dialysis. Because if I wouldn't have had it in the first place, who knows if I would even have these next 12 years to even say that I've had behind me.
Wow.
So if anything, like I said, man, that's the kind of the legacy that I want to be able to leave, is to be an advocate for not only the patients, but for the in general organ and tissue donation, just in general as a whole.
Wow. Remarkable. Now, quick question. Are you still on dialysis until this new kidney is put in?
Yes, sir. I'm currently on in-center hemodialysis. I just made the transition back to in-center hemodialysis after being on peritoneal dialysis for 9 years, which is done in your home. Peritoneal dialysis is done at home. They also have a home hemo version as well. But peritoneal is normally only done in the home. So I was on that for 9 years. My first 3 years on dialysis, I was on in-center, but that was not, this time around is a lot better than the first time around. I would say that in a heartbeat. It's a lot better this time, even though at the very beginning I had my complications and issues I had to deal with. But now, you know, the way things are kind of just forming back into place, you know, they're a lot better this time around.
Philip, God bless you. I mean, you are unbelievable. Your constitution is just remarkable. You're just moving right through all of this, and it's at any given time you could have given up or been upset at the hand you were dealt, but you're admirable in so many different ways. I want to thank you for coming by and sharing your story, and we want to pray for you and hope for the best and moving forward, and wish you the best on your show, A Second Chance, and the message that you're delivering with that.
Oh, I appreciate the opportunity, and I appreciate everything that you do on your show as well. Definitely got to get you over to A Second Chance for you to tell your story as well on our show for sure. I definitely like to reciprocate what's given to me. So definitely, you know, we'll set up a time and a date for you to come over and tell your story.
Let me know when.
I'm sure Tafaro would love to hear your story as well. He's a 2-time kidney transplant recipient.
Wow.
As well as the host to A Second Chance with myself. So definitely look forward to having you.
That would be great. I'd like that. All right, my friend. You take care of yourself.
You as well.
Thanks for listening to Leave Your Mark today. Tune into our next episode of Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese. Be blessed.
You just left your mark. Thanks for listening. Listen to more episodes on demand. Just click Leave Your Mark with Vince Cortese.